What's up, everybody?
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the Tug of War.
Man, glad that you guys are taking some time to spend some time with us.
That's right. Y'all, every week we get together, just two friends, have a conversation about where we are, where we want to be.
Yeah. Because that sometimes is a giant gap.
Huge.
Because where you are is a long way away from what you see in your head, the vision of yourself, of how you want to be leading, accomplishing, and conquering, and taking over the world. And I'm going to be in shape, and I'm going to be rich, and I'm going to be all these great things. And then you look at your current present, you're like, well, crap.
Yeah. There's a tug inside of us that like draws us to where we want to be. And then we look at ourselves and go, oh, but I'm still here.
Yeah.
And that fight and tension between like where we are and where we want to be is like sometimes really frustrating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, so many thoughts today. Our last episode, game changer.
Yeah.
I
really
don't know.
good.
I said in it that if you don't write Pastor Whitney a letter and mail her $5, you're an idiot.
Well,
I don't think I said you're an idiot. Did you get any letters?
No letter. Well, no, I have gotten a lot of messages.
Okay.
I've gotten messages.
But
so
no,
that is good.
no,
but
like,
I've not gotten
in the mail?
$5. I really wish I got $5.
I'm
Just
telling
kidding.
you, it was so good.
Yeah, it
so
was
many
good.
ideas. But as I was watching it, do you know what I realized?
What?
We're almost at episode 100.
Oh, my word. Can you believe we've been doing this for, well, that means we've been doing it almost 2 years?
Yeah, unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Well, I mean, we've taken a couple like
That's true. Breaks.
little breaks.
Longer breaks, yeah.
And so I don't know, what do we do? What do we do for episode 100?
I don't know. What do we do? Tug
Oh yeah,
team?
what do you guys think we should do?
What should we do?
For our 100th episode?
Yeah.
Should we, I think I should, you know how they have like Mexican people birthday parties, they take the lady's face and they hit it in a cake? What if I do that to you?
Yeah, what if you do that to me? That's a great idea. No.
What do we do? What do we
get
do?
a piñata and
Oh yeah, we get a piñata and we can
ridiculous.
invite Tiffany.
there you go.
Let's
Okay.
insert that clip of Tiffany hitting the piñata. It's the greatest thing. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my whole life.
She's gonna be so mad. Well, yeah, our 100th episode's coming. What do we do? How do we celebrate it? You know, it's funny because you were just talking about like the many iterations of the Tug of War. We've had many locations.
Yes.
We've had many setups. We've had many like structures between like the first episode. We had our notes because somebody was convinced we had to have notes.
Hey, that's true. We've also had many iterations of Whitney's hairdo.
Well, listen, that is a continual situation.
I'll tell you what, I look exactly like this 2 years ago.
Because you woke up like this.
It's like, did Trustin film that yesterday or today? You don't know.
We don't know.
There might be the mass of my double chin shifts
Oh, I thought
slightly.
you were talking about the Pharaoh patch.
No, it's always been. It's just the weight on the bottom of my
All
neck
right.
transitions up and down slightly.
Well,
I wish it transitioned greater down, but you know.
Hey,
you do the best you can.
We're all plugging into more.
Puddin' still trying to jump on the throne.
And so it's funny because even in watching back the old Tug of War episodes, realizing like, hey, we've come a long way.
That's true.
Like we were where we were. We knew where we wanted to be. We weren't there yet. And like, we're still not where we want to be, but we're further along than we were when we started.
What if we did a live recording?
What if we did it?
But what is that even for? Oh, do you know what?
What?
I'm doing something really fun this week.
What?
You
are?
Yeah, I leave.
Oh, yeah.
I leave, and I can say it because nobody even knows. Or it's already too late. You're already watching this. It already happened.
It already happened.
I leave on Saturday, and I'm flying to Georgia.
Yeah.
And I'm going to Free Chapel on Sunday, Jensen Franklin, because I follow his podcast.
Yeah.
And they're inviting some pastors to come to their live recording.
Yeah.
And so maybe I can just...
Maybe you're going to get some tips and tricks.
Yeah. I'll just steal their ideas.
Next week.
Yeah.
Oh, you won't know till next week if we liked them or not.
I'll just steal their ideas. You know what they do, though? They said that they're going to take questions from pastors. You know I got all
What they mean is they're going to take questions from Trust and Pava.
What they mean is there's going to be a bunch of pastors in the room and then me keep going like this. I have another one.
Then they're going to be like, does anyone else have a question?
I have another one. And so I'm
You're
excited.
always the guy with questions, which is good because you're always learning. I love it. It'll be fun. I'm excited for
I don't know
you.
what we would do with a live recording.
I
Would you
don't
come?
either.
Would you guys come? The tug team?
Whoa.
Would you show up? You know what we could do? We could have tug of war competition. We could have a tug bracket.
That would be fun.
Husband versus wife tug team battle.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we could even do a live recording, like how like Full House was recorded in front of a live studio audience. Remember, like
Full House?
Yeah, or whatever. Back in the day, they used to say that. I don't know. It's a good idea.
Homeboy died.
I'm sorry? Oh, yeah. Fred Savage? No, that's the Growing Pains. What's this guy's name?
Danny Tanner.
Yeah, I don't remember his real name.
Danny Tanner, he died in a hotel room in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Sad.
And his skull was shattered.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize it was like that.
Yeah, it was sketchy. I watched the thing.
Oh, sad.
Watched like a Vice documentary or something came out on it.
I thought he just like, yeah. Oh, well, that's really
No,
horrible.
if you die in Vegas in a hotel with your skull shattered, you into some stuff.
Yeah. Oh,
you into something.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes me sad for him. I didn't know
it's
that.
It's funny that you're sad and I'm like, America's dad,
Hello, he's America's father.
America's funniest home videos, not anymore.
No, he's like literally the guy that, sat down, gave you the object lesson my whole life. Like that was like my show.
Well, who's my show? Bill Cosby. He ain't doing any better. America's Dad's Carl Winslow.
That's what's wrong with us.
Carl Winslow holding strong, though.
Yeah, keep going, Carl. He's still doing commercials.
He is?
Yeah, he's doing like insurance commercials or something right now.
I will watch one of his commercials.
Yeah,
just
he's great.
Carl Winslow.
Yeah, it's like a dad giving advice to his son, but then Carl Winslow appears and then he starts giving the advice and he's like, "It's okay. You'll be a dad one day.
He's
You'll
like
understand."
This man of sage wisdom.
Yeah. Because I guess he is.
Okay, 100th episode's coming. Give us some ideas.
This is true.
What we should do, what'll be good, what do we talk about? You know what would be my favorite thing to do?
What?
Live tug team, live questions.
Well, that would be great.
Because then we're straight shooting from the hip. You think we have no... So now we have all these notes. Are we
always shooting from the hip?
No, we have our teleprompters.
My favorite thing is...
We have our teleprompters up right now.
My favorite thing is when they did that film like Tug of War with Us Day or whatever, and you said turn around, show all the notes on the wall, and these walls are literally all white. Like, yeah, we're just shooting from the hip. We don't know. Who knows what we're gonna say?
Okay, Whitney said that we have had many iterations of studios.
Many.
Guys,
temporary space. Isn't that what we said?
Guess what?
There's
more.
Uh-oh. You're not doing a very good job of like lately, you've just been dripping all the things.
Dude, I got drip. I got drip. I'm dripping over here.
He's like, let me just tell you, in case you didn't know, I'm about to tell you something.
You better be paying attention.
If you're not paying attention, then you're asleep because you're dripping it pretty hard. But that's good. I'm glad you are.
Something's happening.
You know why?
You better pray.
There's more.
You better give.
Okay, that's true. Yeah. Hey, if you're on the tug team and you want to give to what God is doing, we're all for that.
Because more is more.
More is in store.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, so today we want to talk about...
This studio's fantastic. We finally got our studio figured out, and now we're potentially maybe moving again.
Who knows? And so we'll see what God has, but yeah.
We're going to be in a broom closet.
Hey, that's fine. We've done it. Do you not remember our first cloffices?
Listen, I will have studio in a broom closet as long as I can quit preaching the pig.
Well, let's talk about...
Drip.
Golly.
Are we gonna cut it? You want to edit it? I don't know.
No. And so that's what you're praying and believing for, and that's what we know is that God takes us from where we have been to where He wants us to go.
You know why I'm dripping? Because anything we do around here is fast.
Well, yeah.
And so if we don't at least drip, then by the time we actually make any announcements, if people miss one Sunday, then they're hosed.
Hey,
so I'm about to say soon you can't miss this Sunday. You better get your butt there.
Hey, somebody told us last week, he said, what are you going to do if it ever slowed down? And he's like, you wouldn't know what to do. Y'all just do everything all at once really fast. And we were like, yeah. Is there another way? I don't know. But I don't know the other way. I don't know if I want to know the other way.
Okay.
So
what are we talking about?
You have been talking about dripping, the idea that God is doing something new, because sometimes when you're in a season that you've been in and that season is coming to an end, then we start to feel not the tug into more, but the tug into what junk is even happening.
I'm stuck.
And it's a phrase that we've used before in the church. You've said it a few times, I think even maybe on this podcast. But we use a phrase that's called the grace has been lifted.
Yeah.
And so we want to talk about that idea today just to what does that mean? And what does that look like? And has that ever happened to you? And what do you do when it does? And so let's talk about it.
I think, we're pastors.
Yep.
We're Jesus people.
Jesus.
We read the Bible. It's the truth.
That's
and
right.
so all throughout the Bible, God gives the people that are following him a supernatural grace, power, ability to weather things, to deal with things that are hard.
Yeah.
But that there's always moments where it becomes obvious that season's coming to an end.
Right.
And as the season's coming to an end, it's almost as if the grace for dealing with that thing is removed, and what didn't frustrate you now starts to become troublesome.
Yeah. What wasn't exhausting, what wasn't frustrating, what wasn't tiring, what you used to have all of the time and energy and even passion and excitement for, suddenly all of those things feel like they're drying up.
It wasn't heavy, but now it's heavy.
Now it's heavy.
And Bible-wise, there's a bunch of times, like the Israelites are in the wilderness.
Right.
God's feeding them with manna.
Right.
It's like, I don't know, magical frosted flakes that fall on the floor every morning, and they walk out and collect them. And honey bread and the honey buns. And the honey buns, Aaron has a guy, Winnie's husband. Yes. Am I allowed to say this? Aaron has a guy that works for him.
Oh, yeah, you're allowed.
He's like 65. He's like, ain't no way. He's like 65, and every day for lunch he eats 2 honey buns and a Coke. And he's 65.
And a bag of Doritos.
And a bag of Doritos. And he's like falling asleep at work. Yeah. And he's about to die. He's on dialysis. He just keeps eating honey buns. So
I don't think manna was honey buns then. At least not the
protein-packed honey buns. Anyways, they've been in the wilderness for a long time.
Yeah.
But then God dries up the honey buns.
Right.
He dries up the manna. And it's this very real symbol to the people that it's time for a shift.
Right.
Elisha is in a cave all depressed, and God starts to feed him through ravens, start bringing him meat, and a little brook springs up to give him water. And then when the brook dries up, God says, the brook dried up. It's time for you to go.
Yeah.
And so sometimes until the brook dries up, we're not really even paying attention if we should move. Mm-hmm. And so there's moments in life when stuff starts to get a lot harder, heavier, more difficult, overwhelming.
It feels like doors are closing. It feels like things that, what you said, things that were,
end of your rope,
were difficult, you were still able to do really well. Suddenly you can't do it well anymore. Yeah. Suddenly something you were like had mastered. You just feel like I'm all thumbs now. Like I don't even understand. That's when the grace is being lifted.
For us, the longer we're at the pig, the better we get at it.
For sure.
We can set up and tear down fast.
45 minutes.
What used to take 2 hours,
right,
we're out in 45 minutes.
Right.
With 4 guys.
Right. What used to take 20 guys. Right.
We're getting good at it, but it's still like this feeling like the grace is lifting.
This dauntingness. Yeah.
And even for Rachel and I, like in marriage, there's been seasons that we've needed to work on stuff, or we're like, you got a rock in your shoe, which we should do an episode on that.
Yes.
You know, in your marriage, you just got this pebble in your shoe that's kind of causing you a problem, and like but you're not really dealing with it. But then you both get to a point that's like, we got to get over this. Like we got to sit down, have a meeting, talk about it, pray, fast, talk to a counselor, talk to our friends. We got to deal with this junk. The grace has lifted for this like little fox,
little thing,
this little thing.
Yeah.
And
it could be the same in your job. There's like pieces of your job that you've been doing that like aren't your favorite thing, but you've just always been able to do it. You've been able to handle it well. For me, there was a season where like I was doing a ton of our administrative work on top of my regular job.
Yeah.
And I would just fit it in and it would work and it was fine. And even though it was more time consuming and whatever, I have the gifting for it. So I was able to fit it in.
And God gave you grace to do it.
He did.
And you guarded your heart.
Yeah.
But
there came a season where he was like, you have to hire some help.
Yeah.
Like we had the resources to do it. We had the ability to do it. And I no longer had the time to do it, but I was still trying to fit it in. And it felt like God had to remove his hand of grace where I felt like this thing that I'm naturally gifted to do and should be able to do, I cannot any longer do, because he was trying to push us into the season where you and I were like, but if we have to get more administrative help, that means we have to trust someone else.
Yeah.
That means we have to actually like turn some of that over to somebody else. Ooh, that's hard.
I can hear someone saying, I wish I could just hire somebody.
Well,
and the response is,
well, one, we took a long time. That took us a long time to get there. Two, when we first hired somebody, they did it for free. Like,
recruit.
Yeah.
But like, recruit them.
Right. You gotta work hard to find those people.
Amarisa, our kids pastor, every week is printing curriculum.
Yes.
She's down in the workroom here at the North Campus printing curriculum. But you know what happened to her? The grace lifted.
Yep.
She got sick of printing curriculum.
Well, she had more pressing things that only she could do.
And so now she has some people that come up to the church, and there'll be some moms that are up here, and they're in there just printing all kind of stuff.
Right.
But it's because in her leadership there was a moment where she realized, I don't want to do this anymore, man.
Right.
Like, and part of that feeling, you got to guard your heart through it.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about the graces lifting a little bit to me because of that reason.
Yeah.
Because I know so many people have this like, ooh, I don't like it. No, wait a minute. We have to guard our heart.
You have to guard your heart. You have to keep doing the copies.
Right.
You might have to print the copies or do the administration or set up and tear down the pig for another 6 months.
Right.
But you recognize the brook's drying up.
Right.
You recognize there's a shift that needs to happen.
Yep.
God, show me who the answer is.
Yep.
Tina Bennett, I can say people's names. I said Kyle Bunch the other week.
Yeah.
Again. And so Tina, I looked in there this week. Tina's got a stack of paper. She's printing all this stuff for Amarisa.
Right.
You know what I know about Tina? She's a smart woman.
Right.
Tina could do all kind of stuff, but she agreed to help Amarisa in this area.
Right.
And the only reason that Amarisa got Tina is because she guarded her heart while she was still doing this task. And then she recruited somebody to come along and do it.
And the truth of the matter is, Tina was probably in a season herself where the grace was lifted in maybe just being at home and never having something else to do.
Yeah.
She's raising her girls. She's doing what God's called her to do there. But maybe for her, what you never know about the season where your grace is being lifted is it might be being lifted for somebody else. And if you just go and like get to know the people, talk to them, recruit, do the thing, you might be solving their very real need in that. And so now for Tina, she has an opportunity to come and serve and use her gifts to be helpful and kind.
And it won't just stay there.
Correct.
It'll turn into who knows what, the gifts that God has for her to develop her.
Yes.
I
think that's my heart in it, is just because I served the church so long without any expectation of working there or getting a paycheck there or doing anything, that if I would have said, oh, the grace is lifted, I can't volunteer and keep my regular secular job, then God would have never been able to do what he wanted to do in my life. But that wasn't the grace lifting. That was just me keeping my heart in check.
Yeah. And balancing, am I being a baby about this?
Right.
And I'm just prideful or think I deserve
something better. That's all I'm speaking.
Yeah. It's really good. I mean, rewind that part. Let's do it again because it's easy. We've had people we've had people that claim the grace is lifted and no. You're just impatient.
Right.
You're just impatient. If you've been doing something for 3 months and you expect a full-time check, come on, man.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's not the truth.
Yes.
The first time I heard the phrase, the grace is being lifted, was in a very negative context.
Okay. Let's talk about that.
So I was on staff at a church and there was a lot of transitioning in the church happening. And I had a friend that got called into a meeting and got fired. They got fired. And it was the right call.
Right.
They had not been guarding their heart. Right? There was some stuff going on. And with all the other changes that were happening, your job needs to be changed. But the guy who fired them, right, is sent in to do the deed, the axe man.
Right.
He didn't give any reason.
Yeah.
He just said, the grace is lifted.
Yeah.
And your time of employment here has came to an end. And that stinks.
Right.
Like there's no real explanation of like, well, you got a bad attitude. You're not doing your job. And actually these two people are now doing what you did and we're paying you. And I heard you said this and you said this and you said this. And the guy you work for isn't even here anymore. And instead of getting into all that, they use the grace is lifted as the scapegoat. And I don't know.
Is that good or is it bad? Let's talk about that. To me, because I see both sides of why that's a good phrase to say and why it's not. Because the truth of the matter is that's actually the truth. The truth is you had a bad attitude, you were talking negative, you were doing something.
But what good does it do to have to rehash all of that?
And for a season we put up with it because we had enough grace to deal with it because of the circumstances or the need or whatever. But now the grace is lifted and no longer can we deal with that. But to your point, there's no need to rehash it because the decision's already been made.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that phrase can help us understand, like when we walk through those hard seasons where the brook dries up, where the manna is no longer falling every morning, it can be really easy to look back and get really discouraged and frustrated and be like, God, why aren't you doing what you did in that season? But instead, there's no point in rehashing it all. There's no point in looking back. Well, you did it then. Why are you doing this right now? And we can start to question a bunch of things we don't need to question instead of just trusting, hey, I don't know why the grace is lifted, maybe.
Yeah.
But it has, and it's time to move forward.
Yeah.
And so, like, sometimes it's not worth saying all the words, rehashing all the things. And sometimes it's just an understanding of, hey, this season has just come to an end.
I got an email this week of somebody else leaving the church.
Oh, yeah.
And they gave me the vaguest
Right.
reason.
Yeah.
And I just have to tell myself, grace is lifted.
Yeah.
They're wrong, or like their reasons are immature, but it does me no good to go and try to dig up the brook and get the water to flow back out of it.
Right.
And so in me, I just have to realize the season's over.
Right.
It's over.
Right.
Because and we have to allow closed doors, because if we never allow a closed door, then we can't walk through an open door.
Correct.
And so, like, whether you got fired or you've got to fire somebody,
Right.
the grace is lifting.
Yeah.
Like, there's a time.
Right.
There's a demarcation moment that's like, this is how it was, but this is how it is now.
Now it's moving forward. And I think that it's really important because what you just said is so true. If we aren't willing to admit that the grace is lifted, if we aren't willing to say, hey, this has come to an end, then new seasons, new doors, new opportunities, we're not going to be willing to walk through because we are holding on so tightly to what was. And what you said is like, yeah, we could dig the brook back up and let it flow again, but that's not what God actually wants for us. And so, yeah, to your point, we could call those people, try to have a meeting, try to solve it, try to fix it. But what do you and I both know from experience? In 3 months, something else would frustrate them and they'd be gone again.
Yeah.
And so being able to admit and really look at it and go, okay, God, I see that your hand of grace is lifted here. It feels a little bit like a cop-out. It feels a little bit like just an overgeneralization of it. But what's true is it's really saving the hearts and the minds of all the people to say, you know what, this is what God's doing.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I might not like it.
Yeah.
It might not feel good. And I might not even all the way agree with it.
Yeah.
But God, I'm going to trust that you're sending us and them into a next new season.
Since we've been talking, I've been trying to figure out how to illustrate this.
Okay.
And I have an idea.
Okay.
So Rachel is doing a new like family experiment kind of thing with our kids.
Okay.
And we've bought a chicken.
Yes.
So we now have a live chicken in our backyard. It lives in a little fence thing with a little coop. A coop, you know, and Rachel and the kids got all this chicken food and they go out there and they get an egg every day. And so it's like a science project.
Yeah.
It's like a pet / responsibility.
Right.
Feed the chicken, clean the chicken, all the things. Do you know what it's caused? The back door, like we have a door at our house that goes out the kitchen, like into the backyard. Yeah. And there is always now grassy shoes there.
Yes.
Which means that there is always grass and dirt at our back door.
Yeah, yeah.
Which normally would be real troublesome, bothersome to me.
Yeah.
That like, it's dirty.
Yeah. You are Mr. Clean McGee. Like literally that would drive you normally nuts.
But I have new grace.
Right.
Because I know what Rachel's doing with the chicken.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Her and I have talked about it, agreed on it. I see the benefit in it.
Yeah.
I see the excitement in the kids. They're learning something, and soon that chicken's going to die.
Yeah.
And when it dies, they're going to cry, but it's good because they're going to learn about death. They're learning about hard work.
Yeah.
Like wake up in the morning, the first thing, I don't even have to tell them, chicken duty.
Right.
That's what we can say. Chicken duty, let the thing out, feed it, give it water, check for the egg, chicken duty. They're learning a bunch. And so because I'm not God, but I'm trying to paint an illustration. Because I know the value of the season, I'm cool with all of the grassy dirt at our back door.
Right.
But whenever Rachel says chicken season is over, the children are now teenagers.
Yeah, right.
They've learned the lesson. They got a part-time job somewhere. We don't need to go out and check the chicken.
Right.
The grace for me will lift for the dirt and the grass at our back door.
Yeah, for sure.
And it will lift for Rachel too.
For sure.
She will no longer be okay with this.
Right.
Because we're in a different season.
Yeah.
And what we're saying about the grace being lifted is in seasons that you understand why you're there, you're cool with the mess.
Right.
You're cool with the hardship or the heartache.
Right.
But there's going to be a time that it's time to move on from that.
No, I think...
Does that make sense?
For sure. I think you're illustrating what has happened to us in the season being at the pig. And I think it's fine to speak to it, that for 3 years now, we've been set up and tear down on Sundays, and what's funny is people who don't know. Because online we look like we're a regular church. Like we have LED walls, we have lights, we have our music, like even our worship. Like they've so worked on the sound to where like our worship is legit.
Yeah, editing the online mix.
All the things. And so, but every week, everything is stored in a fake wall behind the stage that we tear out every Sunday morning, set up, plug every cord in, run every wire, and then unplug at the end of the day and put back. The same is happening in our kids' spaces.
And by every cord, she means power cables that will kill you to the mouse that makes the computer work.
Right. Every cord.
Every light. They're carrying roving lights and bolting them.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And like every LED wall gets rolled out and rolled back in. Every TV around our whole campus is like rolled into one closet and stored over the week. Like it's a daunting task.
Yeah.
But for the last 2.5 years, we've understood where we are.
Yeah.
There was a season when the online sound wasn't great. Because it's where we were.
Yeah.
There was so much grace for that. There was times when there would just be a black screen, like on one part of the LED wall, there'd be a black square, or there'd be like
the devil light. There's like this one light that just turns red and shines wherever the junk it wants.
Right.
No matter what we do, we can't help it. But we have grace for it.
Yes.
Because that light just got plugged in an hour ago.
Yeah. And our team has had grace for the season in like, I'm telling you, I've never been more proud of a team in their unity and their working together in like what they could be frustrated each other for. They're not. There's been so much growth. It's the same thing you're talking about with your kids and the chicken. There's been so much they've learned, so much they've learned how to solve, so much that they've learned, how to fix and how to think outside the box, all kinds of incredible strengths that God's given them in this last season. And yet over the last few months, littler problems have felt bigger.
They're
more
heavier
daunting.
emotionally.
They're heavier.
Right.
They're still guarding their hearts. They're still getting along. Everybody's still content with each other. But unilaterally, like everyone together feels this like, why is this so heavy and hard?
Yeah.
When, to your point earlier, our times are faster. We use less people. We're more efficient than we've ever been. Like all of these pieces are now every piece is, tweaked to the best of what we want it to be on as it can be for setup and teardown. And yet it feels like something is not right. That's the only way I know how to say it.
Something's changing.
Something's shifting.
Holy shift.
It's hard.
Yeah.
That's the series that we're in right now because we're understanding that when we shift into new season, it has to be a holy shift. We have to understand that this is not my preference. I'm not feeling tired because I just don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
There's a holy shift happening where God is saying, hey, I'm so proud that you've done this. But I also believe a little bit like jumping to what's next would be difficult if it just kept being easier. If it just kept feeling lighter and fine and fun. And we might be okay with, you know what? That's all right. We'll just stay right here.
Jonah got called to Nineveh, but he went to Tarsus.
Yeah.
The only reason he got back on track is because there was a storm.
Yep.
The only reason he got back on track is not because he was like a good guy who heard from God.
No.
The boat was going down.
Right.
The grace of his disobedience from God had lifted.
Yep.
The storm hit.
Right.
And so not every storm means jump ship.
No.
But sometimes the storm that bothers you
right.
in a new way, not just because you're being a punk.
Right.
You realize like, oh.
Well, and you and I have talked about that.
The grace is lifted here.
You specifically, as we've been talking about getting off the throne, like that season and series that we've been in, you use the verbiage that like this is something that you've wrestled, and something that we've now learned together to wrestle. And so, therefore, in that wrestling, you're searching your heart. You're saying, God, am I just being prideful? Am I just being?
Am I just
too
tired?
cool? Am I just worn out? Am I just? And when you're able to search your heart and go, no, I'm actually being obedient and walking in alignment with what God has, but I feel this grace lifting, then we understand, okay, this is a God shift.
Yeah.
This is a holy shift that's happening. And I just think it's important to understand the difference and then to realize, hey, it's okay if you feel like the grace is lifted.
Yeah.
There's been times when like you're using it to the point of that person losing their job. That feels like that sucks. Mm-hmm. But you know what? When we can receive that moment and go, okay, the grace is lifted, then we can move into more in a better way.
And they knew it too.
100%.
The people that got fired,
they
didn't want to be there anymore.
Right.
Now they're not happy. No one's ever happy when something's taken from them.
Right.
You're not happy if your check is taken or a job is taken or an office is taken. You're not happy.
No.
But they knew that it was right. And I've got to believe that at that church, the pastoral executive staff knew that it was right.
Yeah.
So if you feel the grace is lifting, you shouldn't be the only one. Like when I start feeling that the grace has lifted at the Pig, it's not just me that's feeling it. I've got Rachel telling me and Whit and Aaron. I've got elders coming up to me and saying, like A-Rod came up to me not too long ago and he was like, Pastor, something's got to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something's got to happen. And there's nobody more faithful and consistent than A-Rod.
Yeah. There's nobody that will show up really early.
This dude would work in a gutter for the Lord, until he's a 100-year-old man.
Right.
It's who he is as a man.
Right.
But when he starts saying something's got to change.
Yeah. Then you know.
It's a confirmation to me. Right. Oh, what I'm feeling,
talk about that.
He's feeling.
Yes.
When Lava or one of our elders just comes and gives me a hug on a Sunday and says, hey, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
They know that something's moving. There's some movement.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good gauge to help yourself.
Elaine came up and did that to me the other day. Okay.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great gauge to allow yourself to ask, because when we're people who tug into more, then we're never going to be satisfied where we are. And so we are going to want to use the excuse of the grace is lifting to keep going on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But having people around us that can help us determine, confirm in ourselves, is that real? I've known people, you said it, who've like moved on too quickly because for them, they say, oh, the grace is lifting. Hold on. Is that really what it is? Or did you just have a bad weekend? Did you just have a bad circumstance? Did you just have a bad moment? And having people you trust that you can bounce that off of, that then also can confirm it for you. Maybe you don't say anything to anyone, but someone confirms it for you. Then is when you can see, okay, this is really real. I think it's important just to allow yourself that grace to differentiate between. Yeah.
What's the saying? It's always darkest before the dawn.
Yeah.
I think that's true a lot of times.
Oh, for sure.
It often gets harder before it gets easier. You had just talked to me, Pastor Winnie's preaching this Sunday. I'm super excited about it. And you had talked about how you're going to do the illustration of attack comes in transition.
Yeah.
Like it's when it's already hard that it gets harder.
Right. It's true.
The enemy's at the gate. Like there's a giant at the gate.
Yeah.
To get into a new level, there's always a battle. Mm-hmm. And when you feel the battle turn up and you feel everything is exacerbated, there's something on the other side of that. And so now that feeling in me, it helps me just know something's coming.
Yeah. Well, and it gives me, to me, I mean, you're right. A lot of what we're talking about is a lot of what I'm talking about Sunday, but will be after. And so maybe it's a recap a little bit for you. I have no idea. But something for me that in that then is like, so what do I do? What do I do? Because you and I, you've been saying it. We've been feeling that for several weeks now.
Yeah.
It's not like it's only been last Sunday. It's not like it's only been a couple of times.
Yeah.
And so what did we do though? Because we're still doing what we've been doing, and we will still be doing tomorrow what we've been doing today.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to be able to identify it and then to go, okay, well then I better extra guard my heart.
Yeah.
So like for us with our staff team, we've been super intentional. We do staff prayer on Tuesdays, and we've been super intentional. Even this last week, we extended it. It was 2 hours long. It's usually an hour.
Yeah.
Because we said, hey, because the grace is lifting now, we're going to be extra intentional to guard our hearts, to really prepare ourselves for whatever's next.
And to have grace for each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. To have grace for one another, to wait well. Yeah. Like it's one thing to be waiting.
Dude.
It's a whole nother thing to be waiting well.
Sorry, God.
Right.
Sorry,
no,
Lord.
Right. I mean,
because if you're waiting impatiently, are you actually waiting, or are you just stuck?
You literally said it the other day, which is funny, as an illustration, you know, when you're standing in front of an elevator and you're waiting for it to come, but you just keep pushing the button.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're not really waiting. You're just like hoping it'll show up faster.
Yeah.
Like that is sometimes what we do when we feel this moment of the grace is lifting it, and we're like, okay, God, okay, where is it? What is it? What are you doing it? Are you doing it today? Are you doing it tomorrow? Yeah. What is it? And instead of going, okay, the grace is lifting, so something's coming, but God, keep me, hold me, help me, and help all of us in the midst of while we're still waiting till whatever that answer is. Let's guard our hearts well. And then the second one is to be looking for what's coming, I think, to really identify, okay, something else must be coming. Sometimes something ends before the next thing begins. That's real. Like the brook dried up and then Elijah had to go to the widow's house. Like there was action required. There was space in between.
And new provision that came.
But new provision came. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. So sometimes you won't be just waiting in it until the answer comes. Sometimes you have to walk away from it. Yeah. Sometimes, though, you're still in it and you have to see and identify the new season's coming. Yeah. And so look for it. Be ready to jump. Be ready to go. Be ready to move. Be ready to take the next right step, whatever it is. But if you're not looking for it, then sometimes it's like that guy that they tell the story about how he was he was on the rooftop and like the boat comes and he doesn't get on it because God will save him and all these things. No, look for the boat. Like God's going to send an answer. Yeah. Be looking for it and ready when it shows up.
No, it's really good. I'm trying to think of the questions that our tug team is thinking.
Yeah.
You're thinking, okay, how do I know if the grace is lifted? Well, I think that's what we've been talking about. But some points are track it. Track the feeling.
Yep.
Because it doesn't just mean that you have one bad day. Because I've had plenty of that's a bad Sunday. I feel like my message wasn't good. Like
the people didn't cheer, whatever.
Track it.
Right.
You know how when you're in the hospital or you see someone have a baby, they have the smiley face and then they're like crying face and what's your pain level 0 to 10?
Right.
Like I think that there's some tracking that we should be doing of ourselves. And if you consistently keep feeling that like, this is not, it used to be right, but it's not right anymore.
Did I get enough sleep? Did I eat well? Did I drink enough water, but I still felt it?
Oh, because if I'm up until 1 a.m. and I ate a half bag of Oreos the day before, I hate Sunday.
Yeah. Hey, ladies, are you PMSing? Like, for real, it's a real thing.
It.
Like,
hey, guys,
attention.
Are you, I don't know, man-MSing? I don't know if there's a thing.
No, I'm serious, though. Like,
don't just start going, grace is lifted. No. track it.
Has it just been too many cloudy days?
Yeah.
Like, for real.
Yeah, give it some time, then run it through your filter of counsel.
Right.
Who are your comparable density iron people in your life that will give you some wisdom to say, no, this is not God lifting his hand of grace. The economy's just down.
No, you and I have both had those days, weeks, seasons in the last 3 years where the other one has had to say to the other, hey, chill the junk out. We're okay.
I've had to say to you on Sundays, tell me I'm doing a good job.
Right. Yeah.
It's not about all of these external things. The grace is lifted is a way that God speaks to you.
Correct.
And so track it, run it through counsel.
Yep.
And then before you make a major shift or change, pray or fast for confirmation.
Yeah.
Prayer, I could talk a long time about that, but I'm not going to. Pray or fast for confirmation. And then watch for the fleece.
Okay, sir. We're going to talk about that because
that is
very important thing to talk about.
Do it. Watch for the fleece. Well, so people use the fleece. Again, we're pastors. They use the fleece analogy from Gideon.
It's Gideon. Yeah.
So Gideon, he puts the lamb skin out and it's wet or it's dry and the ground's wet and it's dry.
The ground's dry.
And so like Gideon kind of forces God to do a miracle. That's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
This is not like, okay, I'm going to put my hat in the backyard. And if I wake up and there's a bird's nest built in it, then God wants me to move and do this. No, that's stupid. But I'm going to go outside. And if I see I used to do this junk. And if I see a shooting star start to shoot, then God speak to me. Can God do that? Sure.
Yes, he can.
Sure. But come on,
but
let's mature up a little bit.
Right.
Okay. So talk about it because we
just were talking about it the other day that sometimes, like for Aaron and I, in a season of moving, we felt like God was telling us to move. But what was funny about it was in that season, what was funny about it was that Aaron got an offer on a job.
Yeah.
And we had been also trying to move our house. We'd been trying to sell the house, move to another place. But in this same time where we felt like, okay, God's moving us, he's shifting us, he's changing something. We also got we got the house offer and the job offer to move to Texas in the same week. It was like okay, God, I see your hand. I see what you're doing now. But there's a few more other details that we really need worked out. But all of the things came into alignment in such a smooth, obvious way that God was working that it was like, okay, to me, I wasn't even asking necessarily for the fleece, but he showed it to me in that way. There's other times where you can be like, you know what? When we were going to go to the pig, when we were going to move from our Matlock building to the pig, you and I built a list and we said, okay, God,
yeah, that's good.
There's got to be. They've
got to say yes to all these things.
all of these things. Maybe if they don't say, I remember you and I both like going, because this is what we usually do. Yeah. How many things can they say no to on this list?
We've got to have 90%.
Before we do it?
They got to say yes to 90% of these things.
90%. And they end up saying yes to all of the things.
Yeah.
And so for us, that was a fleece of like, that wasn't a weird hocus pocus juju like thing. It was just, hey, these are the things that have to align in order for us to do what we feel like God is telling us to do. And then it worked out. That is what a healthy, I think, fleece is. I just think it's important.
Well, and as you grow in your relationship with God, he'll give you little nods.
Correct.
Something. This is fun. This is a weird one, but as I'm feeling like God has a move for us, I got to be real careful here because we're in real time.
Yeah, be careful. But I don't know. I don't actually know what you're going to say right now.
As I feel like God has a move for us coming.
Yeah.
I have a neighbor who he always just like puts stuff out on the front of his yard that's trash, but he writes free on it.
Okay.
And so I drive by and he has this big plastic cart that's on 4 wheels that he says free. And he's got 5 of them. Oh, these carts are probably $200.
Yeah.
And he's pulled them from his business and he doesn't want to sell them. He's just getting rid of them. And so I'm loading up these little carts in my truck. And it's like God giving me this free thing that I know is going to be an asset to us, our ministry. Yeah. But like the only way that these 5 large rolling carts are good is in a building.
Right.
And I'm praying and I'm seeking and I'm trying to figure out, God, what are you up to? What's happening?
Right.
And sometimes he just he just does enough.
Right.
That in a moment he like, I'm tapping myself on the shoulder, where he just does this little gesture that's like, I got you, dog.
I got you.
I'm speaking to you. You're hearing it right. You're feeling it right. Something's coming.
Yeah.
And I would call that for me a fleece.
Yeah. You have very, you are a very, how do I say it? God speaks to you in very tangible, like actual object ways.
Yeah.
Which I think is very cool. And I wish it was that way for everyone. Like, I wish that was that way for me. Like, that's not always what happens, but there's just times there's been like words that have popped in my head that I'm like, that did not come from me. Where did that come from? That it had to be God speaking to me. Mm-hmm. There's different ways where he can, what you're saying, the patting on the back, that in moments, you've just got to be aware. I think if you're looking up to see, what is he going to do? But yeah, for you, I mean, good grief. He's always putting junk literally in the road for you to find.
Yeah.
Whereas for some of us, I wish we all could be that cool. But like, there's other moments where he'll tug you in the right direction. He'll have someone speak something that was totally unexpected.
Have we told the New Era story? Have I told that story here?
I don't think so.
I tell it, or
yeah.
Is that what you're alluding? Sometimes Whitney, she'll say things, and she's really trying to do is subconsciously tell that story.
Well, I wasn't actually this time, but yes, you should tell that now that you are. So do it.
I was writing a message just not too long ago, and I'm at a coffee shop that I go to every once in a while, even though I don't like coffee. And I'm writing the message, and I get to this part where I feel like I'm supposed to write that God's taking us as a church into a new era. Not a new season, a new era, and I just can't do it.
Right.
Because I'm nervous. I don't know. Is this me? Am I trying to project something that is faith, but not in his timing?
Right.
And I'm literally sitting there writing it, and I type the word new, and I'm just looking at it. And I'm telling you, a lady 2 tables away, I haven't heard nothing that she's been saying. And I hear this woman say new era so loud that I look over, I start weeping at the table, and I write new era, and God gave me the whole message in the next 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And so I then went up to the lady afterwards, and I know she thought I was about to hit on her.
Really?
Oh, bro.
Was she older? Yeah.
No, she was like my age, a little younger.
When you've told this story, I thought she literally, I pictured like a 50, 60, 70, 50, 60-year-old woman.
She was with a older lady.
Oh, okay.
But she's like.
That makes it funny.
She's like yoga mom.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's like she has like a 2-year-old.
I know what you are saying.
She has a 2-year-old with her.
Okay.
And she just left yoga class.
Okay.
That's who it is.
Oh, okay.
And so I go up to her.
I literally pictured it like a grandma.
No, and she's like, she's like,
Hi. Why are you talking to me?
Hi, yeah. She's giving me that face.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, I said, I know this is real weird. I'm a Christian. Are you a believer? And she says, yes, very much so. She's like, I'm not going to sleep with you, sir. Like, I don't know.
Get away from me. You don't get my phone number.
And I said,
I'm married.
I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to bother y'all, but I was over here writing a sermon, and I was typing something, and I was scared to type it. And I heard you say really loud the words new era. And her and the older lady, they look at each other like, and I said, I just want you to know that the Holy Spirit just spoke through you. And by now, my eyes are all swelled up with tears.
What? You were crying? Weird.
And I'm like, I want you to know that the Holy Spirit just spoke through you. Yeah. And then she starts crying. The old lady starts crying. And I was like, so just thank you for your walk with the Lord, because you ministered to me now. Yeah. And then I ran out of that coffee shop as fast as I could. Because I don't know her story. She might be trying to sleep with me now.
Oh, okay. Ridiculous.
I'm just joking.
No, it's really funny.
And so there's moments that God will, but I didn't sit in the coffee shop and say, God, I need to hear someone say the words new era right now. That's crazy.
Right.
But sometimes he'll just give you a wink. He'll give you a wink and a nod.
Yeah.
Or just a peace in your heart, or a hug from a friend.
Yeah.
Or you'll hear a sermon in your YouTube algorithm.
Yeah.
That just speaks to
I'm
me.
talking about on Sunday, so it's Tuesday, so it's fine. But like this week, I'm telling you, that's what God does. He puts stuff in the road for you. But this week, he put stuff in the road for you that was really for me.
Yeah.
That I was up all night, overwhelmed, stressed out, literally thinking back about a certain season that we went through 7 years ago and how painful that was financially, what we went through. And it was so, I was just literally letting it wash over me. I was letting it fear wash over me that what we've gone through before is what we're about to go through again. And it wasn't truth at all. It was just those 3 a.m. chaos. And you walked into our staff prayer and you're like, I was on a walk today and God brought this broken lock that's an open broken lock. A lock can be broken and closed, but it wasn't. It was unlocked. And another one right here. And you're telling it like whatever. And you're like, I don't really know what it means. And
I walked past it and I almost left it there, but I felt like God was directed to pick it up. And so it was actually super inconvenient because I'm just in gym shorts on this jog on this walk, and now I've got these heavy locks clanging around on my gym shorts, but I just couldn't put them down. And so I just brought them to staff prayer.
I just brought them, and you literally say, I don't really know if it means anything.
And I look over,
I'm like, what? Like literally, like it means everything, because to me, in a season where we showed up 7 years ago to locked doors, locked buildings that like we hadn't paid bills and we didn't even know until we showed up that they hadn't been paid.
Not we. But we
showed up.
Oh, we showed up.
They hadn't been paid.
Yes.
We did not know until the day we showed up that they had not been paid. And so in this literal moment where I'm going, God, are we about to walk through locked doors again? He literally puts 2 busted, unlocked locks in the road for you to bring to me. That you have no idea. So like your obedience to just hear from God, to show up, to grab something that you're like, it doesn't really speak to me, but okay, God, whatever. You're clearly doing it. Gave me so much peace that even what I like had to walk through the next couple of days wanted me to be overwhelmed, stressed, and all these things. And I was like, I can't. God literally spoke something so clearly. And so you have to understand, like, yes, a fleece could be that your baseball cap is soaking wet, but most likely it's going to be that God will speak very tangibly and directly, but also super uniquely in ways that you're not looking for. I think that's a piece to it that is like, it makes it undeniable. And so for us, we've been in this like grace is lifted season, but also with undeniable confirmation.
Undeniable confirmations. And so that's one of the ways God speaks is through lifting his hand, lifting his grace. It's time to go.
It's really good.
And so in your life, in your story, in your business, in your job, in your family, maybe that's a new understanding that you can start to communicate with God about, like, God, is the grace lifting? And he might say, no, be patient, stay steady, wait in it. But he might say, yeah, there's a shift. There's a shift that I'm prepping you for.
Right.
We've got to be prepped. We don't want to just walk into a shift unprepared.
No, in your home, maybe you've been doing family night a certain way and you need to shift it. And maybe it's time, maybe the way you've been doing it is not working anymore. And it's time to really understand that it's something new. Maybe it's in your job. Maybe it's in your business. Maybe it's not changing jobs. Maybe it's just changing the way you do your job. We just have to be open to receive, okay, God, I see this. Now speak to me. Now help me see what to do next. It's really good.
Dude, that's fantastic.
That was a good episode.
That was a deep one, guys.
Hey.
Love y'all. And episode 100's coming up. And really, I want to do something cool. I want to do something fun. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll just be sitting right here saying, well, it's episode 100. We didn't have time to figure nothing out. But
hey, if that happens, that happens.
If that happens, it happens. I'm just telling you, it might not be cool at all, but maybe I'll jump out of a helicopter.
Okay.
I won't. I will never jump out of a helicopter.
I got it. Episode 100, you're going to ride roller coasters at Six Flags. Let's do it.
Not doing it.
We're going to secret mic you. It would be so fun.
Yeah, secret mic me.
Look, he just, you never see him get that like, no, I'm not.
No,
look,
I don't want nothing to do with that.
All right, love y'all.
See ya.